Good morning, boys and girls. Get off that couch. Loosen up your arms and your hands and your head and a leg and the other leg. Now shake all over. Ooh, shake, 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 shake. Okay, let's start with our Y yoga pose. So feet just on the floor, side by side, arms at an angle. So you're reaching out and up, and that lifts everything. Everything lifts up. Now breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Nose, mouth. One more, big breath. Out through your mouth. And drop your arms. Bring your shoulders up to your ears and push your shoulders down. Up and down. Let's do that Y yoga one more time. Y, yoga. Starts with the Y. Reach up and out with those fingertips. Try and reach to the ceiling and down. Okay, our next one is called the rattlesnake pose. Now, rattlesnakes have a rattle at the end of their tail so that if they feel scared or feel like a predator's coming to get them, they shake that rattle. And hopefully it'll scare off whatever's about to get them. So you're going to go down on the floor, and I'm hoping that I'm watching the camera here to make sure you can see me. Down on the floor on your tummy like this. Now, this is going to be your rattle. Do you see? Uh-oh, here comes my kitty cat, Squeak. She's going to do yoga with us, I guess. Your feet are going to, they're going to be like this. They're going to be up. Maybe I better turn this way. See how my feet are up? They're not laying down. But first, we want to lift up with our hands, get your chest off the floor, and then lift those feet up and hold still, but breathe. One more big breath. And relax. Don't put your face on the floor, but just drop your chest to the floor to rest. Drop your feet to the floor to rest. Remember, when you do yoga, you hold the pose, but you breathe. You don't hold your breath. Okay, so lift your chest and head up off the floor. Now lift that rattle up and hold it. Breathe. Breathe. One more. And relax. Okay, come up on your hands and knees. Let's do the cat-cow. That was from yesterday. So remember, when a cat gets scared, they arch their back. So your head goes down and your bottom goes down, but your back arches up. Now when you do the cow, head and bottom go up and your tummy aims towards the floor. That's the cow. Do cat, cow, and let's go into downward dog. Tuck your toes under, push off the floor, bottom goes up, head goes down, and breathe. Good job. Okay, that's our yoga for today. And maybe you could have your family find some YouTube yoga channels, or maybe you have a yoga DVD at home. Okay, we're going to move right to our opposites lesson. Oh, I better turn this way, boys and girls. Opposites. Okay. We just have 3 today to finish up this opposites lesson. So, let me move this up so you can see it better. Okay. We've got a row here and a row here, and we're going to match like we did yesterday. So we've got, this is called a weight, and people use this to make their muscles bigger. They lift it up and set it down. So that's going to be heavy. So which one of these over here do you think is opposite of heavy, which would be light? Do you think a cat in the box, fire, or a feather? Which one would be opposite of heavy? Yeah, it'd be light. It'd be the feather, because the feather is very, very light. I'm going to draw a line from the weight down to the feather. Now let's go to the cat outside of the box. The cat is outside of the box, out of the box. So, cat in the box or fire? What would be opposite of cat out of the box? Good. Okay, so we're going to draw a line from cat out of the box to cat in the box. You cannot be out of a box and in the box at the same time. That's what makes them opposites. Now down here we have a snowman. It's our last one, and we know that snowmen are cold. That's what keeps them from melting. So cold, and of course a fire is hot. So there's our opposite match. Heavy, light. Cat out of the box, cat in the box. Cold, hot. Very nice. Okay. Now today is Earth Day, and so we are going to be talking about keeping this earth clean, because God loaned us this earth. He created everything in this earth, and He gave it to us just for a loan, just like when you go to the library and they loan you a book. You must take care of it, right? You must take care of it, and then you must bring it back in good shape. So we are borrowing this earth, and we have to give it back in the way we found it, in good shape. Now this says too much trash. Now look, that excited Mark. Too much trash. Look at that boy. And look at all this garbage and trash. We're going to find out about this. Let's see. We don't want to have too much trash, do we, boys and girls? All right. I have to adjust my camera a little bit. Trash doesn't disappear. First, the trash goes out on the curb. They've got their recycle or their trash can. Can you see that little girl? That's her job to take that out. Now this one is the recycle. I can see back here, that's their trash can. That's the recycle. Make less trash. We're running out of places to put all that trash. Here are 3 ways we can make less trash. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's look at this one. The trash goes into the back of the garbage truck. And then the garbage truck takes all that truck to a place called the landfill. And that's where everyone's stinky trash goes. Now, if the recycle trash truck picks up, they're supposed to take your recycle stuff to the recycle center, excuse me, where they sort it in paper, plastic, metal, aluminum, cardboard, and get it cleaned up, and then it's made into new plastic bottles, new cardboard, new paper, that sort of thing. But regular old trash goes to the landfill. Okay, now let's come back down here. I skipped ahead and I didn't mean to. So make less trash. We're running out of places to put all that trash. Here are 3 ways that we can make less of it. Bring your own bag when you go shopping. I try and do that every time I go to the grocery. I take my own cloth bags. And that way I'm not using plastic sacks, because plastic sacks, when they go to the landfill, they don't break down. plastic stays plastic for a long, 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 long time. So plastic is great, except when you're trying to break it down and mix it with the other trash. When I come home with my groceries, I unload my groceries and then I clean this with a Clorox wipe to make sure it's clean and ready to go to the grocery store the next time. So that's one thing you can do. Instead of getting the plastic sacks at Walmart or Schnucks, you take your own bags and use less plastic sacks. The second thing you can do to make less trash, recycle bottles, paper, and cans. They will be made into something new. So if you would just throw this plastic bottle into your regular trash and it goes to the landfill, it just lays there for years and years and years and years and years. And it doesn't break down. So we don't want plastic to go to the landfill. So what it does, it goes to the recycling center. They put all the plastic in one pile. They sort things, kind of like we do at school. They sort them, all the plastic together. And then they can melt that, they can clean the plastic, then they can melt it down and make new bottles and new things out of the plastic. So they're reusing. Same thing with paper and cans. That might be a can that you get green beans out of, or peas, or something like that. Now the third one, use both sides of a piece of paper when you draw. Do you know how when I make you guys little notepads and I staple them all together? Well, I have used scrap paper. I've used our old lesson papers. The front side has been used already, but the back side is still clean and white. So you want to try and always use that piece of paper if you can. Use it 2 times, the front and the back. That's just a different way of making less trash. Instead of getting a fresh piece of paper each time to color on or to make notes, try and use scrap paper, okay? All right. Now this chart shows us how long it takes trash to break down. It takes a banana 3 weeks to break down. It takes a sock 1 year. And it takes, now I can't tell, boys and girls, if this is a plastic, I think it's a plastic bottle. It takes 1 million years to break down. So that's why we want to recycle, especially plastic. Okay, now look at this. The question says, which takes the longest time to break down? Was it the banana, the sock, or the plastic bottle? Which one took the longest to break down? It was the plastic bottle, wasn't it? So we would circle the plastic bottle. It took 1 million years. It took a year for the sock, 3 weeks for the banana. Now, which takes the shortest time to break down? The banana, the sock, or the plastic? Yeah, the banana takes the shortest time to break down. A lot of people put things like this in their compost pile, and then they can mix that compost pile to make new soil, and they put it in their garden, and it grows wonderful vegetables. Not new bananas, no. But so we would circle the banana. It takes the shortest amount of time. Do you remember how many weeks? 3 weeks, yeah. Which takes 1 year to break down? Was it the banana, the sock, or the bottle? Now, you know we've already talked about the bottle, the plastic, it took 1 million years. We know that the banana took 3 weeks. So which one of those takes 1 year to break down? Which one have we not talked about yet? Yeah, the sock. It's cloth, isn't it? Or knit. All right, do you think it's important to recycle? I want you to think about that question. Do you think it's important to recycle? Then I want you to talk to your family about that, because you as a child can help recycle, but you cannot do it on your own. First, you have to have a separate tub to put your recyclables in, and you can't do that on your own. So talk to your family about recycling. Then you can help sort or at least get those things that need to be recycled into the recycling tub. Okay, awesome. So we know today is Earth Day, and it's one day set aside each year to talk about our Earth and how precious it is to us. We don't want to waste water, do we? I have a chart here of some things that we can do to help our planet. Turn off the lights when you're done with them, or the TV. Don't leave the room. If you don't plan on coming back, don't leave the room with the lights and the TV on. Turn it off. That wastes electricity, and that helps our Earth if you turn the lights off. Remember, every time we left our room at school, we turned the lights off because there was no one in there. There was no need to have lights on. All right. The next thing is use energy-saving light bulbs. Now that would be for your grown-ups at your house to decide about that, okay? But there are some energy-saving light bulbs that you can put in your lamps. Turn off televisions and computers when you're not using them. I turn our computer off every night before I go to bed because no one's using it and I don't want to waste electricity. Unplug M3P players and game system chargers when you're not using them. Now that would be up to your grown-up at home, but you could talk to them about that. I do not unplug certain things if I'm going to use them all the time. But like my toaster, I don't use that very often, so I keep it unplugged. It's something you can do, something you don't have to do, but that's something you have to talk to your grown-up about, not you deciding that on your own. Okay, now this is something you can do. Don't waste water. Turn off the water while you brush your teeth. So you remember how we talked about you wet your toothbrush, then turn the water off. Put the toothpaste on, brush your teeth. So while you're brushing, the water is not just running down the drain, not being used. That's wasteful. We don't want to waste our water. Okay, so turn it off, but then you got to turn it back on when you're ready to spit and rinse your brush, right? Then when you're done, make sure you've turned that water off. There's no drips, okay? That's something you can do. All right, take showers, take shorter showers instead of long baths. That you use less water when you take a short shower instead of a long bath. Don't litter. Always throw your trash in a trash can. Don't litter. Don't throw the trash on the ground. And that's so disrespectful to our earth and to the people that live on this earth and to God who made the earth. If you owned something, would you want someone to trash it? No, no. Clean up, recycle paper, bottles, and cans. So they have got 3 recycle tubs. One for paper, one for glass, and one for metal. Now they probably need one for some plastic because we do use a lot of plastic nowadays, don't we? I have one big recycled trash can and all of the recyclables go in it. The cans, the paper, the cardboard, the plastic, the glass. It all goes into one. And then my trash men take it to the recycle center and that's where they sort it, clean it, and reuse it. Plant trees. Plants are important for the environment because they produce oxygen. That's important to have trees. Now I know sometimes we have to cut trees down because they are damaged or they're rotten and you don't want them falling on your house. But trees, they make clean air for us to breathe. And if our air gets dirty, boys and girls, that's not good for our bodies. We need to have clean air. So hopefully if your family ever has to have a tree cut down, maybe you could plant a new tree so when it grows, it can make fresh, clean air for you. Instead of riding in cars, save energy by walking or riding your bike. Now that's something you cannot do by yourself right now, okay? You're still a child, but you can talk to your family about that. Some people, like where my son Evan lives in Chicago, which is a big city, they walk a lot. They walk to the store. They walk to Home Depot. They don't use their car too much. They do a lot of walking. But that's, like I said, something you have to talk to your family about, okay? All right, always remember the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Very good. Okay. Now then, boys and girls, this is one of my very favorite books, and I read it every Earth Day. It's about a tree named Steve. Now, this is a true story, even though you think it might not be. It is non-fiction. It's about a family and a tree. And when I read this, sometimes it just almost makes me want to cry, because the way they talk about Steve the tree, it's almost like he's a person. He's alive, isn't he? Because we know that trees are living things. So this book is called Our Tree Named Steve, and it's by Alan Zweibel, illustrated by David Catrow. You're going to love this book. I love it. I hope I don't start crying. All right. Now, the mom and the dad wrote a letter to their kids. It said, "Dear kids, a long time ago when you were little, Mom and I took you to where we wanted to build a house for us to live in. But in order to build there, men had to come and clear the land." So look, there's the family, and the dad is the one that's telling this story, the dad of the family. This is where they wanted to build a house. So they had to chop some trees down. I remember there was one tree, however, that the 3 of you couldn't stop staring at. Adam thought it was crying. Lindsay said it looked nervous. And Sari, who was only 2 years old, couldn't pronounce the word tree, and she called it Steve. So that's how that big old tree got its name, Steve. "I love you, Steve," she kept saying. And then Adam and Lindsay started saying it. And before too long, Mom and I got the hint and asked the builder to please save Steve. So they said, "When you start to clear the land for our new house, leave this tree." Our kids love it. Okay. Remember, this is a real story. The dad is telling the story. The day we moved in, Steve was there to greet us. So look, there's their new house that got built. They cleared away the trees for the house, but look, they left Steve. How about that? And look at the 3 kiddos and the dog looking at the tree named what? Steve. He worked his way quickly into your lives as a swing holder. Here's the tire swing. So Steve has got jobs to do. Hold the tire swing, hold one end of the jump rope so that the girls can jump rope. It was a target, third base, hiding place, and jump rope turner. And whenever our dryer broke down, he held our underwear with pride. So look, their dryer wasn't working, and Mom had to do the laundry, so she hung a clothesline out on Steve and let the clothes dry that way. Steve is very important to their whole family, right? Yes, right there in the center of our yard, this weird-looking tree grew to become the center of our outdoor life. Through all the barbecues, campouts, and dance parties. Look, there's Steve. Now he's holding lights for them, so when they're outside at night, they've got some light. I love it. Or when Adam and Lindsay started getting crushes on the Simon kids next door, Steve adjusted to our every need. Can you tell what season it is now? It's fall, isn't it? Because Steve's leaves are changing and they're falling. But look, Steve is still doing its job. That's Steve. And it wasn't always easy, standing tall through snowstorms in the winter. Look, now it's winter. Or when Uncle Chester napped in the hammock. That couldn't have possibly been fun. Look, okay, Uncle Chester's a little heavy, right? It's okay, we can say that about Uncle Chester. He's like a cartoon guy, isn't he? But Steve had to be very strong. Not to mention the time that the sewer overflowed and Steve sucked up all that smelly water. Oh, look at all that water. That's the sewer. It's stinky, icky, dirty water. And the roots down under the ground of Steve sucked that water up. Then Steve got sick, and the tree doctor had to give Steve a haircut that made him look like a giant thumb. So I guess he sucked up that water, and it made him sick. So that's okay. The tree doctor trimmed some branches off, and he's good as new now. Through the years, Mom and I have tried to show you, in a world filled with strangers, that peace comes with having things you can count on and a safe place to return after a hard day or a long trip. They count on Steve, don't they? He's always there for them, no matter what season, no matter what they're doing, no matter what they need. He's their safe place. And I bet he's even their safe place during a fire drill. Remember, you need to have a safe place to go outside and meet your family. This would be a great place. So the mom and dad, if they ever had a fire drill, they'd say, if there's a fire, run outside and stand near Steve, and we'll all get out there safely. Which brings me to the point of this letter. Now remember, that's Dad talking. He sent a letter to his kids who are visiting their grandparents out of town. Last week, a storm hit our area. So the kids were with the grandparents. They weren't there when the storm hit. And though we spared Steve's life a long time ago, this time we couldn't save him. So look what happened to Steve. The storm blew him over. How do you feel, boys and girls? How do you think the parents feel? They're going to have to tell their children who are out of town visiting the grandparents that Steve got knocked over. Isn't that kind of sad? This is where I kind of start crying. Aren't we sad? Now look, the tree doctor had to come again and cut that part that tipped over. Had to cut that part down. Look, even their dog is sad. He's wondering, where is Steve? Are we sad? Sure we are. But even in his final moments, when he could have fallen on our house, Sary's swing, or Kirby's doghouse, or Mom's garden, Steve performed his last trick and protected all of us to the very end. And friends like this are hard to find. Steve didn't fall this way, did he? He fell the other way. So when you come home from Grandma's next week, Steve will not be able to greet you as he's done in the past. I'm sorry. But please know that Steve will always be with us in our hearts and in our thoughts. Now there's another good lesson in here, boys and girls. Anything that is alive, whether it's people, animals, insects, trees, flowers, anything that's alive is sooner or later going to die. Things that are alive cannot live forever. Trees cannot live forever. People cannot live forever. But know that Steve will be with us in our hearts and in our thoughts. So if you've ever had a family member or friend die or a pet die, they're always in your heart and in your mind. You can think about them. And in a different tree, at the other end of our yard, look what they did. They took the part of Steve that fell down, and they made a tree house out of Steve. And now Steve is sitting in a different tree. See, there's where Steve used to be. Now there's just it's called the stump. But the part that fell because of the storm, they took that wood and they made a tree house for the kids in a new tree. So Steve goes on, doesn't he? He's serving another purpose now. See you next week. Love, Dad. The end. What do you think about that, boys and girls? Isn't that a neat story? So we need to take care of our trees. Yes, sometimes they have to be cut down, either because you're needing the space or a tree has been damaged. But hopefully we can also plant trees, because when the trees get bigger and stronger, they serve a lot of purposes for us, even if it's just making fresh air. Isn't that a good book? I love it. Okay, the last thing we're going to read today is, may I please have a cookie? So we're still talking about manners, because boys and girls, if you're not a person that uses good manners, people won't want to be around you. And you always want people to like being around you. And if you don't use good manners, they won't want to be around you. Okay? So may I please have a cookie? And that's a question. See the question mark right there? It's a loop and a dot. And that's a question. That question needs an answer. It's not a statement. It's a question. Mom was baking cookies. Look what the illustrator did. That's the smell coming from the cookies. That must be a good smell. Alfie loved cookies. He loved to smell cookies. He loved to look at cookies. But most of all, Alfie loved to eat cookies. Don't grab, Alfie, said Mommy. Can you think of a better way to get a cookie? So Alfie was just going to grab a cookie. But that's not using good manners, is it? Alfie thought and thought and thought, and then Alfie got an idea. He found a big coat and a big hat. Wonder what this idea is. I want a cookie, said Alfie in a big, deep voice. This says cookie inspector. He's pretending to be a cookie inspector. That's someone who checks out the cookies and makes sure that they're good to eat. Oh, look, his mustache fell off, and he says, oops. You think his mom knows who that is, even with the mustache on? I think she probably does. No, Alfie, said Mommy. Think of a better way to get a cookie. Alfie had another idea. He went outside. He's making it pretty hard on himself, isn't he, to get a cookie? Mommy put icing on the cookies. Then she saw something. Oh, look what she saw. It's like a fishing hook on a line. Someone is fishing for cookies. Do you know who that might be? Remember, Alfie went outside. Get down, Alfie, cried Mommy. Think of a better way to get a cookie. That Alfie, he's a good thinker, isn't he? But there's such an easy way to get a cookie. Alfie thought of another idea. He went to his room and got some paper. He cut and he colored, and soon Alfie had his own cookies. He cut out some cookies. Do you think they're going to be as good as the ones that Mom made? He still wanted a real cookie, though. He began to cry. Oh, my goodness. Mommy hugged Alfie. Your cookies look yummy. May I please have one? Now that's all he needed to do. Look, his mom gave him one right away. Oh, looks like, oh no, I have to look at this better, boys and girls. Look, his mommy said to Alfie, those are the ones he made, remember, out of paper? And she said to him, your cookies look yummy. May I have one, please? And so then look what Alfie does. He gives her one. She's trying to show him by an example of what he should do. Then Alfie had the best idea of all. Mommy, may I please have a cookie, he said. He got the idea, didn't he? Yes, you may, Alfie, said Mommy. Thank you, said Alfie. You're welcome, said Mommy. Look, his tummy's full of cookies. Okay, your community circle statement today, something I want you to think about is, how can I keep the earth clean? And it may not be the whole earth, but since today's Earth Day, I'll call it Earth. But let's just even say your own yard and your own house or apartment clean. How can you do that? Okay, and I want you to talk to your family about Earth Day and some things that you can do as a family to help keep your yard, your house, Evansville, your neighborhood, how we can keep those places clean. And you have a great Earth Day, boys and girls. Bye.